Part 65. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 642. In early October, Zhou Ziyu took a private plane to Hong Kong Island and officially joined ATV. When she walked out of the airport with Zhang Wenjun and other accompanying staff, surrounded by a large number of bodyguards, she saw reporters and paparazzi surrounding her outside. Hong Kong tabloid reporters are notoriously difficult to deal with, crazy, and have no bottom line. They are called paparazzi. The paparazzi industry in the mainland was formed under the influence of Hong Kong paparazzi. But the paparazzi on the mainland are much more restrained and far less crazy and rampant than their predecessors on Hong Kong Island. There was only one Zhou Wei who could fight, but he didn't dare to make any more harsh revelations later. There are too many news points about Zhou Ziyu. She is beautiful and glamorous, comparable to the most beautiful Hong Kong sister. She is unclear about Li Jie, the top rich man in the mainland, and is about to join the quagmire of ATV. During this period, her popularity in Hong Kong Island has become even higher than that of previous A-list stars. Hong Kong people like to read gossips about rich people and beauties. As long as one or two explosive sentences are interviewed, newspapers and magazines will worry about selling. If the interview is not explosive, you can take more photos and make up random things when you go back. Making up random fake news is just a routine operation for these paparazzi. Seeing Zhou Ziyu and his party coming out, they immediately swarmed around. Ms. Zhou, what is your relationship with Mr. Li of Kudong Group? Ms. Zhou, I heard that you already have a son. Is this true? Ms. Zhou, are you confident in saving ATV? Zhou Ziyu is already the new head of ATV, but these paparazzi reporters are talking about Ms. Zhou. They obviously lack respect for her and only think that she is a vase who relies on the rich to get to the position. Zhou Ziyu turned a deaf ear to these paparazzi's entanglements and ignored them. Under the protection of her bodyguards, she walked forward. She was dressed in black and wore big sunglasses. She was cool, beautiful, and full of aura. Many passers-by who didn't know the truth thought that some big star had come to Hong Kong with such grandeur. There was also a desperate paparazzi who barged in on her, only to be pushed to the ground by the bodyguard. This gang of paparazzi has long been notorious on Hong Kong Island, and no one will sympathize with them even if they are beaten. All the way to the parking lot, Zhou Ziyu got directly into her red convertible Lamborghini Veneno, Poison. Seeing this top-notch luxury car, newly launched this year, with only 9 units in the world and worth €3 million, excluding tax, the paparazzi suddenly became excited and started taking pictures of the car and Zhou Ziyu, flashing a slice. This convertible version of Lamborghini Poison has been on Hong Kong Island for a while. Some newspapers previously speculated that it was a new luxury car ordered by a rich man in Hong Kong. However, they did not expect that it was a new car purchased by a top rich man from the mainland for his lover to join ATV. Not knowing whether it was intentional or not, Zhou Ziyu looked back while leaning on the car door as if posing before getting in the car. After the Lombo sports car sped away surrounded by other vehicles, the paparazzi stopped taking pictures. This Li Sheng is really rich. Not only is he rich, he is also generous. This sinking fish really has the meaning of sinking fish and falling geese. Indeed, he is no worse than the rich sniper back then. No wonder Li Sheng is willing to spend a lot of money to smile. Which one are you talking about? Golf or that Hong Kong girl? They don't understand the plot of Future Generations, or they might say something, and whoever sees it will not be confused. The next day, the photo of Zhou Ziyu leaning on the car door and turning around appeared on the front pages of major newspapers in Hong Kong and was reprinted by many mainland media. Having an internet celebrity CEO is not a bad thing for a company, TV station. I don't know how much publicity expenses Richard Liu saved Gaodong by marrying Milk Tea. It also made his online popularity skyrocket in those years. But later on, she failed abroad and her character changed, and the promotion of showing off her wife could no longer be maintained. Before Zhou Ziyu came to Hong Kong, Li Jie told her that she could be more high profile on Hong Kong Island and create a personality of a beautiful CEO. Those paparazzi thought they were making money by exposing Zhou Ziyu, but in fact Zhou Ziyu was also taking advantage of them. ATV headquarters in Taipo, New Territories. Executive Director and Vice President Ye Jiabao, along with a group of ATV executives and artists, had been waiting at the gate of the TV station for a long time. When they saw the motorcade of Zhou Ziyu and his entourage arriving, they immediately came to greet them. After the Lamborghini Veneno stopped, the door opened and Zhou Ziyu stepped out of the car gracefully. Ye Jiabao took 2 quick steps and came to the side of the car. He stretched out his hand with a smile on his face and said, "Drj, welcome you, Your Excellency, to join ATV. From now on, it will be up to you, Your Excellency, to lead us to create greater glory." This attitude is very correct. Zhou Ziyu smiled and shook hands with the other person. "Mr. Ye, you are too polite. I am a newcomer. I don't understand many things and I still need your support as an old senior." The senior executives of ATV, including Ye Jiabao, were stunned when she spoke. It was not in Mandarin, but in very standard Cantonese. If they hadn't known that Ms. Zhou was from the mainland, they would have even suspected that she grew up on Hong Kong Island. During the more than a year that Zhou Ziyu stayed in Hong Kong Island, she was not idle, and she worked hard on Cantonese. Li Jie had long told her that if she wanted to truly control ATV, she had to follow the local customs and not be an outsider. Wang Zheng, the former head of ATV, is a counterexample. Hong Kong people are very uncomfortable with speaking pure Mandarin. There are also some Hong Kong and Taiwan stars who go north to film and make money in the mainland, but they can't even speak basic Mandarin well and are unwilling to learn it seriously, so they have no hope of being truly recognized by the mainland audience. Zhou Ziyu's hard work paid off, as Ye Jiabao and other ATV executives clearly recognized her more. The new boss is obviously well prepared to take over ATV. His proficiency in Cantonese cannot be mastered in a short time, and he is not just a vase as many Hong Kong media say. With the support of Li Jie, a wealthy mainland Chinese who is not short of money, it may be possible for ATV to get out of the quagmire. After the two parties introduced each other and exchanged pleasantries for a while, Ye Jiabao said, "Drj Zhou, how about I show you around first?" Zhou Ziyu smiled and said, "Just call me Mr. Zhou." Zhou. She can't sing the Nunkaku. Zhou Ziyu is not only the chairman of ATV, the top person in charge of the TV station, but also the CEO. Accompanied by Ye Jiabao and other ATV executives, Zhou Ziyu led Zhang Wenjun and others into the ATV building. She and Li Jie visited ATV 2 years ago, but they were just tourists, but now they are the owners of this TV station. "President Zhou, this is your office." Ye Jiabao opened the door to the chairman's office first, and then made an inviting gesture to Zhou Ziyu. Zhou Ziyu nodded to him to express his gratitude, and then walked in. The office is large and very clean, but the decoration is a bit outdated. "Mr. Ye, you go and do your work first." Zhou Ziyu and Ye Jiabao chatted for a while, then planned to let the other party leave. Ye Jiabao hesitated and said, "Mr. Zhou, the salary for September is still delayed. The employees and artists are quite dissatisfied." After hearing this, Zhou Ziyu nodded and said, "I understand. Just reassure the employees and the funds will arrive soon." After the other party went out, she turned to Zhang Wenjun and said, "Wenjun, what do you think?" Zhang Wenjun knew that Zhou Ziyu was talking about Ye Jiabao. This person is just an old fritter. She was thriving with Bai Wei at the newly established Seal Apparel, and did not want to come to Hong Kong with Zhou Ziyu to take over the mess of ATV. Besides, she would be further away from Li Jie when she came to Hong Kong Island. Old fritter? Zhou Ziyu didn't speak anymore, but walked to the window and looked at the scenery outside. She had known for a long time that Ye Jiabao was a veteran of 7 dynasties. As early as 1977, he joined Lee's Television, the predecessor of ATV, part-time and experienced the rise and fall of ATV in the past 40 years. It doesn't matter if you are tactful, as long as you obey. As soon as Ye Jiabao returned to the office, he was surrounded by employees and artists waiting here. Director Ye, what did this new Miss Joe say? When will the wages be paid? Didn't you say that she brought over 1 billion, so she won't have any money again? If I don't get paid, I won't even have money to buy groceries. Some Hong Kong tabloids made up nonsense, saying that Josie brought more than 1 billion HK dollars to join ATV. Ye Jiabao comforted those present and said, "Don't worry, Director J. Joe has agreed. Salaries will be paid as soon as the funds are received. He has been at ATV for nearly 40 years and has a very deep relationship. He has never thought about leaving. He supports whoever has the financial resources to maintain the operation of the TV station. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn." Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 643. Humph, Fox Joe knows how to be in the limelight all day long. Xiao Jiao picked up the newspaper on the table while eating breakfast slowly. As a result, she saw on the cover that Josie was leaning casually on the cool body of the red Lamborghini, holding the open scissor door with one hand. She was beautiful and sassy, looking like a goddess. Title: a well-known internet celebrity writer and director of Kudong Group, Shen Yu, joined ATV in a high-profile manner. Like many rich people, Li Jie also developed the habit of reading newspapers every day. He ordered many newspapers and asked his nanny to place them on the table early in the morning. Lamborghini poison? Limited edition of 9 units worldwide, priced at 45 million, after tax. The more Xiao Jiao watched, the more unhappy he became, and the more he watched, the more sour his heart became. It wasn't that she was envious or jealous, she just couldn't stand the fact that Li Jie was so doting on Zhou Hu. At this time, Li Jie walked down the spiral staircase while adjusting his collar. "Where's Bai Wei?" "Sister Wei." She took a few bites and then went to the company, Xiao Jiao said. "This Bai Wei really has the potential to be a strong woman. She works hard and even treats work as fun." Li Jie shook his head inwardly. When he was with Bai Wei, he always felt as if there was something between them, even though, how can I put it, it just lacks a sense of conquest. Sometimes he even feels like a tool. After being with him, she can be with Xiao Jiao for the rest of her life, and can work with peace of mind in her career. What's wrong? Li Jie suddenly noticed that Xiao Jiao looked a little strange. "You are so generous." Xiao Jiao raised the newspaper in his hand with a half-smiling expression. Li Jie came to her side, took the newspaper and took a look, and he suddenly understood. "Which of you am I not generous to?" He didn't give Xiao Jiao a top-notch sports car, not because he was reluctant, but because he was afraid that something would happen to her. Not everyone can drive a top-notch supercar. Driving is too difficult, and ordinary people can easily get into accidents even if they are trained. If you are not careful, your car will crash and you will be killed. After Xiao Jiao hit a curb with her Lamborghini, Li Jie no longer dared to let her, a female driver, drive a supercar. At most, she is allowed to drive the entry-level Porsche 718 for fun. In non-sport mode, it is almost the same as an ordinary mobility scooter. "How about I give you a special car? I guarantee you will like it." "A special car?" Xiao Jiao suddenly showed a look of understanding and said with an angry smile, "You guys know how to bully me all day long. You can refer to Magia's instantly understanding eyes in Love Apartment. Being a female driver is too hard, but she would rather." Li Jie was stunned for a moment, then reacted and said funnily, "Where are you thinking? Your mind is full of unhealthy thoughts." "My thoughts are unhealthy." Xiao Jiao stopped after hearing this. "It's not you who said." Come up, Li Jie squatted down in front of her and patted himself on the shoulder. So what you said is. The president is rarely a little embarrassed. After Xiao Jiao lay on Li Jie's back and hugged his neck, Li Jie got up and left the villa, carrying her and walking slowly in the garden in the yard. Is your treatment better? Xiao Jiao pursed her lips, with a smile on her face. Husband, do you have anything important to do today? It's nothing too important, what's wrong? Then how about I accompany you to the company and be your secretary for a day? School started in September this year, and Xiao Jiao is in her third year of graduate school. In the third year of graduate school, there were no classes. Other students were either busy researching topics, writing papers, or doing internships or looking for jobs, but she had nothing to do and was extremely idle. Okay, Li Jie hesitated for a moment and nodded. Seal Clothing is preparing for the autumn fashion show. The models on the catwalk are all celebrities and internet celebrities selected by internet votes. He wants to go and see the rehearsal today. What do you want to do after graduation? You won't graduate next year. I haven't thought too much about it yet. Xiao Jiao paused and said with a smile, no, I will just stay at home. Why can't you support me? How about continuing to study for a PhD? Li Jie asked. Professor Chen, Xiao Jiao's supervisor, told me that if you want to study for a PhD, he can continue to guide you. After finishing my PhD, should I study for a postdoc? Also. Fine, Xiao Jiao said angrily. After 4 years of college and 3 years of graduate school, she was really tired of reading. Li Jie couldn't help but chuckle. He had already seen that Xiao Jiao didn't want to go to graduate school. She had basically failed in the past 2 years of graduate school. Then why don't you stay in school and become a teacher? Be a teaching assistant for a year or two first, so that the teaching assistant doesn't have to teach. What to save? It also saves you from misleading your disciples. Hey, how old are you before you bite? In the blink of an eye, Zhou Ziu has been in charge of ATV for 4 or 5 days, but she has not taken any action. She just talks to employees and artists one by one to learn more about the situation of the TV station. After a few days, I finally figured out the situation. The situation was much worse than she expected. No wonder Li Jie told her not to have any expectations. The program quality is appalling, the equipment is old, the ratings are low, and the revenue is dismal and the losses are serious. At present, ATV's prime time ratings from Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. to 11 p.m., are only 1 to 2 points, and the average ratings have dropped to 1 point. The 1 o'clock viewership rating on Hong Kong Island is about 65,000 people. This rating is extremely miserable. With such poor ratings, there is no hope of having advertisers. In order to attract advertising, ATV even launched an ultra-low-price advertising package that made its peers ridicule. As long as you pay HK $30,000, you can play 80 30-second advertisements on ATV's Hong Kong channel and Asia channel. The losses were serious and the company could not make ends meet, so it had no choice but to drastically cut back on programs to save money. News programs were cut by 1/3, and many special programs were simply suspended due to lack of sponsorship, and a large period of time was used to broadcast old dramas. Some Hong Kong residents complained that ATV seemed to be broadcasting programs from 20 years ago in a parallel time and space. Because of lack of money, while the entire industry was going digital, ATV's equipment was still at the videotape stage. What is even more serious is the lack of talent and the disengagement of people. At its peak, ATV had more than 2,700 employees. After several reshuffles at the top and multiple layoffs, there are now only more than 700 people left. The people with strong abilities and promising prospects have basically left. Among the remaining people, there must be some old employees who have feelings for the TV station and are reluctant to leave. but most people have mediocre abilities and there is no good way out if they want to leave. The frequent arrears of wages make employees unmotivated to work, late, leaving early, and slacking off. No matter how good the system is, it still needs people to execute it. If the execution team is not good, it will only get worse. It's really a quagmire, Josio sighed inwardly. She originally wanted to make drastic changes and turn the TV station around from losses to profits as soon as possible. Now it seems that it is better to take it slowly and try to make less losses next year. A week after joining ATV, Josio finally took action and held a staff meeting to announce several decisions. First, strengthen personnel management and implement performance appraisal and reward and punishment systems. For those who perform poorly at work, are late for no reason, leave early, and are just messing around, they will be notified and criticized, their wages will be deducted, and they will be fired if they do not change despite repeated admonitions. Employees who work conscientiously, responsibly, and proactively will be notified and rewarded with additional bonuses. Performance pay is implemented and is directly linked to program ratings. The higher the program ratings, the higher the team performance bonus. Pay deduction for worst ratings. The second is to adjust personnel positions. After this week, Josio had a rough impression of the middle and high-level personnel of the TV station. Those who are obedient and capable will be reused and promoted, and those who are disobedient and dawdling will be marginalized. By the way, the first dozen or so people she brought from Kudon Group will be placed in key positions. Among them, Jang Wenjun was appointed as assistant to the president and artist director. Third, despite resuming normal broadcasting, there were too many programs that were cut off or suspended, and it was difficult to restore them for a while, so I first bought a batch of old dramas, movies, and variety shows at a low price from Cuckoo Entertainment, and broadcast them first in case of emergency. Just like Moon Hotel, Chef Fang, Legend of Fish Chaser, Adolescence, Thailand, Beauty and the Best, Variety Show, and so on. Although mainland TV dramas and variety shows are prone to acclimatization in Hong Kong Island, they are still better than programs broadcast more than 10 or 20 years ago. What's more, many mainland TV dramas have become popular on Hong Kong Island. When ATV aired Returning the Pearl, it overwhelmed TVB. Finally, Josio announced that everyone would receive an additional month's salary at the end of this year and promised that they would not be owed wages again in the future. Upon hearing the good news, the employees and artists present immediately cheered up and had a great impression of her. Ordinary employees don't care who runs ATV, as long as they are paid on time. It's different to have top rich people as your backers. Miss Jo is indeed more generous this week. This is the first salary increase in more than 3 years. Is Josio generous? They won't think so anytime soon. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 644. By November, after the wages and bonuses for that month were paid on time, the employees' hearts were completely settled. Josio laid off another group of employees who were dawdling and working in secret, and once again deployed a group of people brought from the mainland. After initially taking control of the situation, he began to carry out reforms and promulgated a series of reform measures. To put it simply, it means to increase revenue and reduce expenditure, and even to be stingy when it comes to reducing expenditure. Many people have a misunderstanding that the income of TVB artists is very low. The income of a veteran TVB artist is not even as good as that of actors outside the third-tier mainland. Why can't TVB be more generous and give artists more wages? In fact, this salary really cannot be increased easily. Not to mention TVB, which has more than 4,000 employees, ATV, which currently only has more than 700 employees, spends more than 10 million HK dollars on salary for 1 month. Add a little more salary and expenses will skyrocket. After Josio joined ATV, she really realized what it means to be a family member and not know how expensive food and rice are. Staff salary expenses are 14 to 5 million Hong Kong dollars a month, which is nearly 200 million Hong Kong dollars a year. In addition, holding large-scale events is also very expensive, as well as the operating expenses of the TV station. It's no wonder that ATV suffered losses of HK$340 million and HK$378 million in 2011 and 2012 respectively. In order to revive ATV, Josio brought 1 billion Hong Kong dollars this time. But Li Zhe's money didn't come from strong winds, and he couldn't always throw it into this quagmire. Josio's first step in cutting back on costs was to stop all large-scale events, including next year's Miss Asia pageant. Miss Asia is no longer as popular as it was back then, and its influence is getting worse every year. There is no need to waste money just to keep up appearances. Then she completely cut off the TV series and variety show production departments. From now on, the TV station will only produce ordinary programs. TV series and variety shows will be co-produced with Cuckoo Entertainment and no longer independently produce TV series and variety shows. Since 2007, ATV has begun to reduce the filming of new dramas, or even stopped production completely. The main reason is that the investment and return are not proportional. It costs tens of millions to invest in a TV series, but the advertisements cannot be sold for less than 1 million, and the copyright cannot be sold at a high price. It often takes 3 or 4 years for a TV series to recover the cost. The market on Hong Kong Island is too small, and it is difficult to recover the cost of a large investment. The only way is to cooperate with the mainland to jointly produce and share the investment. In order to minimize personnel expenses, Josio is even planning to lay off a group of old employees with mediocre abilities, recruit people from the mainland to replace them, and find more interns to come to Hong Kong for internships. At this time, the wage gap between the mainland and Hong Kong Island was still relatively large. For employees with the same ability, the salary in Hong Kong Island was 3 to 4 times higher than that in the mainland. Even doubling the wages of those coming to work in Hong Kong would be much more cost-effective, as long as the food and accommodation problems are solved for them. Mainlanders need a visa to work in Hong Kong, but it is not difficult to obtain a visa as long as they are hired by an employer. In addition, ATV has more than 100 artists left. This number is only 1/10 of what it was in its heyday, and they are still not well known. The famous ones have long since changed jobs and ran away. Even Asian sisters Wang Kewen and Chen Wei switched jobs to TVB in 2011 and 2012 respectively. As for these artists, Josio is not ready to support them in vain. Now that the TV station has no filming, he will let Zhang Wenjun arrange for them to travel north to the mainland to film. The TV station here in Hong Kong implements a salary package system, and artists are also working as workers, or even worse than working as workers. A typical contracted artist only costs about 10,000 Hong Kong dollars a month, which is only 7,000 to 8,000 yuan when converted into RMB. It is very competitive to go to the mainland to film. In mainland China, the salaries of celebrities have skyrocketed in recent years, and the salaries of ordinary actors have also risen. Even an 18th-tier actor can earn hundreds of thousands a year. In comparison, these artists in Hong Kong are really high quality and cheap. Besides, by organizing these artists to go north to film, the company can get some share, which not only saves expenses, but also generates income. It can be said that in order to reduce expenses, Josio went to extreme lengths. In the eyes of ATV employees and artists, she has also changed from the generous MS Joe to the second best MS Fang. Fang Yuhua, the former head of TVB and Sir Xiao's confidant, is famous for his frugality and stinginess, and is nicknamed Iron Abacus. What they didn't know was that Josie really knew Miss Fang's life in detail, and even regarded her as a learning object. However, just reducing expenditure is not enough. What is more important is open source. As long as the income cannot be improved, no matter how much expenditure is reduced, it will not really get rid of the predicament. In order to increase her income as soon as possible, Josie flew back to Shanghai to advertise for Qwen Technology, Cuckoo Entertainment, Seal Clothing, Pink Sixi, Kuxin, everywhere. Relying on the relationship with Li Jie, he won more than a dozen advertising orders. Although the unit price was not high, the total price was several million. Promoting new movies for Cuckoo Entertainment, advertising Seal Clothing, promoting Kuxin on Hong Kong Island, etc. The biggest deal was to promote Pinzixi on Hong Kong Island. With the backing of Penguin Company and Kudong Group, Pinzixi is extremely wealthy and advertises everywhere, but there happens to be no promotion on Hong Kong Island. Josie also reached a strategic partnership with Cuckoo Entertainment and purchased a batch of second-hand shooting equipment at a low price. ATV's equipment is still in the era of video recorders. It's too expensive to buy new equipment, so I bought a batch of obsolete second-hand goods to use first. The suspension of the Miss Asia beauty pageant, the large-scale layoff of old employees, and the reuse of mainland teams have made many old ATV employees and artists dissatisfied with Zhou Tsuyu, and the outside media has also been very skeptical and criticized. But the results of the reform soon became apparent. In November, we still lost 10 million to 20 million, and by December, the loss dropped to less than 10 million. After adjustments and reforms were made to the program, ratings began to continue to rise. Among the old dramas bought at low prices from Cuckoo Entertainment, some of them had pretty good ratings after they were aired. In particular, Dream of the Three Kingdoms, the Three Kingdoms version of Palace, was an unexpected hit, with the highest ratings reaching 28 points, beating TVB in the same period. This is the first time in recent years that ATV has surpassed TVB in ratings. Josie personally presided over the revision of news programs, and the relaunched Mandarin News performed well in ratings. Several new programs, such as Movie Broadcast, the livelihood program ATV Close, and the newly revised Weather Report, have received good responses. The ratings are not very high, but they are stable. There is also the variety show Please Give Me a Meal show, which was launched in January 2014. This star-making meal show was co-produced by Cuckoo Entertainment's production team sent to Hong Kong and ATV. After it was broadcast, its reputation and ratings both exploded. In fact, before Josie came to Hong Kong Island, Li Jie gave her a reference plan for ATV reform. This plan was written by combining his own experience and convening the efforts of everyone. There are many popular programs in later generations, such as Chinese Restaurant, Where Are We Going, Dad, Longing for Life, Idol Producer, Produce 101 and so on. But Zhou Tsuyu only tried some low-investment programs in the early stage. Please Give Me a Meal show is the only one with a relatively large investment, and has invited several popular celebrity guests from Hong Kong and mainland China. She has lived in Hong Kong Island for more than a year and has long been aware of the huge differences in cultural concepts between Hong Kong Island and the mainland. Programs that are popular on the mainland may not be popular on Hong Kong Island. Just like TV dramas, mainland costume dramas, especially dramas, are very popular here on Hong Kong Island, but modern fashion dramas are easily acclimated. Therefore, large investment in variety shows must be cautious, and must be combined with the actual situation of Hong Kong Island. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanjie. Chapter 645. Time flies to January 2014. As the Spring Festival approaches, ATV has received two more good news. First, this year's Spring Festival Gala will be co-organized with Kudong Group and will be broadcast live on Kudong Video. Kudong Group has sponsored RMB 80 million as a title sponsor, so the scale of the party will be unprecedentedly grand. AVT also has a Spring Festival gala, but it lacks funding and is rather petty. The party was recorded at the main station. The performances included lion dance, singing and dancing, and some old, outdated, Hong Kong artists were invited to sing classic songs. This year, we are co-organizing it with the Fun Group, so there is no shortage of money. The venue of the party should be at the Hung Hom Stadium. The performing guests are no longer limited to Hong Kong Island, but from Hong Kong, Taiwan, mainland China, as well as South Korea and Southeast Asia. Artist. The limelight will definitely overwhelm TVB next door. Second, there will be New Year's goods distributed in Taesheung this year. This news came as a surprise to the old employees. In the past few years, ATV has declined to the point where it has been unable to even pay its employees' salaries and has repeatedly been in arrears, let alone the New Year's goods. Under the leadership of MS Joe, the situation of the TV station is indeed getting better and better. Lu Haihao drove his old Toyota Crown Comfort to the ATV headquarters in Taipo. He graduated from the School of Communication, Hang Seng Management College, Hong Kong, and joined the ATV News Department in 2007. At that time, ATV was already in decline, and fewer new dramas were being produced, but at least employees' wages were still guaranteed. He bought his second-hand Crown Comfort at that time. He had just started working and still needed to pay off his student loan, so he bought a second-hand car first to make the transition. He thought that after a few years, he could save some money and buy a better new car. But in the following years, the situation of the TV station worsened year by year. Especially after the former head took over ATV in 2010, even employee wages were repeatedly delayed, and the TV station was about to close down. Lu Haihao could only finish hosting nightly news in the middle of the night, and he had to get up early the next day to interview for new jobs. Fortunately, last year Li Jie, the top rich man in mainland China, bought ATV. After MS Joe took over the TV station, she carried out reforms with an iron fist, and the situation finally began to improve. At least he doesn't have to worry about losing his job, and he doesn't have to be busy looking for a job while working. Although Zhou Ziyou's aggressive dismissal of old employees and re-employment of mainlanders has made many old ATV employees and artists dissatisfied, they still admire her ability very much. Anyone with a discerning eye can see that ATV's situation is getting better. Not to mention regaining its glory, at least it can be maintained. After the ratings of several programs such as Dream of the Three Kingdoms and Please Give Me a Meal exploded, Zhou Ziyou's prestige on the TV station became even higher. Even the tone of many Hong Kong media has changed, from questioning and criticizing to praising her as the second Miss Fang. Previously, they said that Zhou Ziyou was Miss Fang's second best, which was a mockery of her wanton dismissal of old employees, her disorderly behavior, and her lack of respect for humanity. But now that she is the second Miss Fang, it means that she is as strong-armed and capable as the former head of TVB, Miss Fang. Just like the nickname Lu Yufei Tianxian, it was mocking her at first, but later it gradually turned into a good name. After parking the car, Lu Haihao got out of the car and closed the door. This second-hand Crown Comfort, which has been driven for 6 or 7 years, has more and more problems. If the situation of the TV station can continue to improve, he is going to take out a loan to buy a new car. Otherwise, it will be difficult to find a girlfriend without driving this junk car. Kenneth, Lu Haihao greeted Chen Kitai, who got out of another car. Many people are not familiar with the name Chen Kitai, but many people are familiar with the 2 classic roles he has played, namely Yin's Haiping in the 1995 version of The Condor and Kazuo Yamamoto in Strange Date. In fact, Chen Kitai is not only an actor, but also an excellent host and singer. He graduated from a prestigious Canadian university. He is eloquent, quick-thinking, and knowledgeable. The program Millionaire he hosted created a ratings miracle for ATV, and TVB was unable to fight back. After his contract expired in 2009, Chen Kitai left ATV, where he stayed for 11 years, and went to TVB. However, he was not reused by TVB and returned to ATV in early 2011. Zhou Tsuyu has no discrimination against Hong Kong people. The reason why she laid off so many old employees is because they work in a shady manner, rely on their elders, have mediocre abilities, and have various problems. She still attaches great importance to talents like Chen Kitai, and even intends to restart Millionaire, a once ace program. It's funny to say that the program Millionaire has been aired for 4 series but not a single millionaire has been born. It is not even willing to give out sweets. Naturally, it is difficult to maintain the popularity of the program. Lu Haihao and Chen Kitai chatted for a while, and the two walked into the ATV building together, greeting colleagues they met from time to time. The situation of the TV station has improved, and the spirit of the employees has also changed. When he came to the elevator entrance and saw Zhou Ziyu and Xiao Yu waiting for the elevator, Lu Haihao quickly said, "Hello, Mr. Zhou." Then he enthusiastically said to Xiao Yu, "Xenia." Xenia is Xiao Yu's English name. People in Hong Kong generally have English names, so she just followed the local customs. Zhou Ziyu smiled and nodded, chatting casually with Lu Haihao and Chen Kitai. She has always been approachable in front of her employees. Xiao Yu resigned from Shanghai TV station as early as the year before last, 2012, and joined the Today's News self-media platform under Kudong Group at the invitation of Li Jie. After Zhou Ziyu joined ATV, she was recruited from Today's News. Although Xiao Yu has only joined ATV for 2 or 3 months, she is already the leading actress of the TV station. The Mandarin news she hosted had very good ratings. Many people on Hong Kong Island, especially men, suddenly became interested in current affairs and liked to watch the news. I can only say that the beauty effect is amazing. Xiao Yu's looks can make her a Taiwanese beauty even if she only wears Y-Vision. At least she is much prettier than Bing Bing, let alone on Hong Kong Island. Today's Hong Kong Island is no longer the time when hundreds of flowers bloomed and beauties were everywhere in the 1980s and 1990s. There are 3 beauty contests, Miss Hong Kong, Miss Asia, and Miss China, but not even a representative beauty can be selected. The same goes for the revised weather report program, which also relies on the beauty effect to attract viewers. Zhou Ziyu found a very popular beauty internet celebrity in Hong Kong Island through TikTok, the overseas version of Fun Video, and asked her to host the revised weather report. In the elevator, Lu Haihao always looked at Xiao Yu, who was standing behind Zhou Ziyu. As long as there are unmarried male employees in the TV station, there is no doubt that they have a good impression of Xiao Yu, who is beautiful and elegant. Of course, there are definitely married people, but they just won't express their little thoughts. Lu Haihao, an older man who is 28 years old and not yet married, is also one of Xiao Yu's admirers. But he felt that his conditions were a bit poor. He didn't have much savings and didn't own his own house, so he didn't dare to express his good feelings. Fortunately, both of them were in the news department, so at least he could see Xiao Yu every day. Speaking of which, Zhou Ziyu is more beautiful and elegant than Xiao Yu, but everyone knows that she is Li Jie's confidant, lover, so no one dares to have any thoughts about her. At most, you can just appreciate it, just like ordinary people watching celebrities. After getting out of the elevator, Lu Haihao and Xiao Yu walked into the news department together. As soon as I entered, I found that the office was full of joy. What's wrong? Did something good happen? The company's New Year's goods have been distributed, a male colleague said with a smile. There are quite a lot of things. Miss Zhou is a rare generous person. After the female colleague who spoke finished speaking, she subconsciously glanced at Xiao Yu as if she remembered something. Xiao Yu is also a mainlander and has a close relationship with Zhou Ziyu. Ms. Joe is quite nice, someone else said. Yes, yes, if it weren't for Miss Joe, the TV station might have closed down, and we would all be unemployed. A lot of people were bribed with just a few New Year's goods. Most ordinary employees only care about their monthly salary, and the struggle at the top has nothing to do with them. Even if many familiar colleagues are laid off, they will only complain a few words in sorrow. On the contrary, a little kindness from a strict boss will make them feel grateful. As soon as Lu Haihao walked to his desk, he saw the box containing New Year's goods. When I opened it, I found that there were indeed a lot of things inside, including a Xiaomi 3 mobile phone, a pair of Seal sneakers, a Seal fashion jacket, 2 tickets to the Spring Festival Gala American Samoa, well as small gifts such as fun game recharge cards and TikTok Gold Coin recharge cards. Lu Haihao fiddled with the TikTok Gold Coin recharge card, planning to give it to Xiaoyu when he started broadcasting. Thinking of this, he glanced at Xiaoyu. He didn't originally play short videos, but after Xiaoyu came and heard that she played TikTok, he also downloaded one and only followed it. Ahem, I follow dozens of beautiful female anchors. I heard that New Year's goods have been distributed. Beauty internet celebrity Uxin, the host of Weather Report, also came. Her appearance and temperament are not as good as Xiaoyu's, but she has an excellent figure, a slim waist, and a very broad mind. It can be said that she is extremely talented. In addition, she prefers tighter and cooler clothes, so the ratings of the show will not be bad. Adult men have to go to work, so they must pay attention to the weather tomorrow. I've sent it, and there's also a TikTok Gold Coin recharge card. Yanis, Yuxin, I'll give it to you when you start broadcasting, a male colleague said flatteringly. That's great, Uxin said with some surprise. I will start broadcasting tonight, please come and support me, okay. As expected of a professional female anchor, she is a good hand at asking for gifts. Josio came to the office, sat down and turned on the computer first. Recently, she and Lija had been playing office video games. They would video chat for a while every day when they came to the office. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 646. The proportion of news programs on ATV is a bit too heavy, Josio said to Lija on the other side of the video. During her video chat with Lija, she would talk about the problems she encountered and ask him for advice. Lija didn't seem to have had a good rest. He looked a little tired. He picked up the coffee on the table and took a sip. It can be reduced appropriately. News programs should be more refined and not excessive. News reports must be true, accurate, comprehensive objective. ATV has always been famous for its news programs and regards news and information programs as its core competitiveness. However, it has repeatedly made reporting errors and was fined by the Communications Authority. Even the most basic truth and accuracy of news reports is a slap in the face. Josio nodded slightly. When the situation of the TV station improves further next year, after the Spring Festival, the losses can be reduced. In 2014, it should be reduced to less than 50 to 60 million. But if we want to truly turn a profit, it won't be something we can do in 1 or 2 years. She paused and said with some emotion and helplessness, compared with the mainland, the TV market in Hong Kong is still too small. ATV's coverage is not small, covering Hong Kong and Macau, Guangdong and Guangxi, Southeast Asia, and North America, with an audience of nearly 100 million. At its peak, ATV was one of the most influential TV stations in Asia. Through satellite-paid channels, even Chinese and ethnic Chinese in more than 70 overseas countries can watch Hong Kong stations. However, after the rise of the mainland, the status of Hong Kong Island has inevitably been relatively reduced, and its cultural influence has shrunk. As a result, ATV, which originally shared the Chinese market with TVB, had to fight each other with TVB in the small market of Hong Kong Island. If we want to truly get out of this predicament, we must expand external markets and make the cake bigger. But this is not easy. The former head Wang Zheng was also aware of this problem, and then proposed to deeply cultivate the Pearl River Delta, open a Mandarin Channel, and open up the mainland market. The problem is that the mainland market has risen, and the TV industry in Hong Kong no longer has an advantage in competition. On the contrary, it is being beaten. In fact, it's not just ATV and TVB that are in decline. Even the TV stations in Taiwan are also in decline. In later generations, even the Korean wave can't even start, and instead they copy domestic dramas. In fact, they have been copying. "You've done a great job," Li Jie comforted him with a smile. Zhou Ziyu's performance has exceeded his expectations. Even if he takes charge of ATV himself, he may not be able to do much better than her. Don't force yourself to turn a loss into a profit, just control the loss within an acceptable range. Even in the heyday of ATV, it was always in a state of loss. That is to say, during Lin Boxen's period, it turned a profit in 1996 and made a profit of 12 million, but the financial crisis came soon after. Li Jie's intention to acquire ATV was just to improve the industry chain of the media group. What kind of media group is it if it doesn't even have a TV station? With the TV station, Cuckoo Entertainment can further get rid of the constraints of state-owned TV stations. The produced TV series, variety shows, and animations can be broadcast simultaneously on video platforms and ATV. After the results are achieved, they can be sold to major TV stations in the mainland at high prices. Artists and internet celebrities under the group also have more opportunities to appear on programs and show their faces. Moreover, ATV can also send programs to more than 70 countries around the world through satellite paid channels. This is an overseas channel. The TV series, movies, animations, and variety shows produced by Cuckoo Entertainment can all be broadcast overseas through satellite paid channels, earning a small additional amount of revenue. If there is no channel, the copyright can only be sold at a low price. In comparison, ATV's annual losses of tens of millions are nothing at all. Of course Zhou Ziyu knew what Li Jie said, but she was just a little unwilling. She remembered that Li Jie had said that the Southeast Asian market could be opened up. How about restarting the Miss Asia beauty pageant next year and include Southeast Asia? Li Jie thought for a while and shook his head slightly. The era of beauty pageants has passed. Not only Miss Hong Kong and Miss Asia have declined, but also all over the world. The rise of women's rights has made people's judgments on beauty more and more diverse, and they no longer even focus on appearance. He thought of those weird beauty pageants in the island country, where each beauty pageant winner was uglier than the last. Besides, with the rise of the internet and the advent of the self-media era, everyone has the opportunity and platform to show off their beauty, so there is no need to participate in beauty pageants anymore. Ordinary people participate in beauty pageants just for the opportunity to become famous, and the same goes for becoming an internet celebrity. Besides, after seeing too many beauties with beautiful faces and special effects, people's aesthetic taste has become higher and higher, and it is difficult for real beauties to make people feel stunning. Li Jie suddenly thought that if he could develop a kind of beauty glasses, there would be a huge market. In later generations, beautification has been rampant, but the black technology of beauty glasses has not yet existed. After listening to Li Jie's words, Zhou Ziyu bit her lip, and then said in a long voice, "Husband, you must have a way, right?" "Right." Li Jie was very uncomfortable with her. "Why are you still imitating Xiao Qiao? She and Xiao Qiao have completely different styles, and whoever imitates them will be weird. Why doesn't my husband like it? Speak nicely." Zhou Ziyu couldn't help but chuckle and return to her normal voice, "Husband, you have to help me." Method. Li Jie really didn't have any good ideas. This is the general trend of the times, and how can it be easily changed by human power? The strategy of exploring the Southeast Asian market is just an attempt. We can try to feature music programs. Li Jie thought for a while and said. Music, Zhou was a little surprised. Li Jie nodded and said, the three major TV stations in South Korea have song promotion programs. KBS's Music Bank on Friday, MBC's Music Center on Saturday, and SBS's Popular Songs on Sunday. These music promotion programs are the key to South Korea's music market and the soil for the existence and development of idol groups. Some people say that there is no soil for cultivating idol groups in China, and this is actually true. Europe, the United States, island countries, and South Korea have all developed mature music markets, with many influential music chart-topping programs. However, there has never been a mature music market in China, and there are no influential commercial singing programs. Of course, this is mainly because the mainland policy does not allow singing programs, and spending money on idols to boost sales is an incorrect value. Without commercial singing programs, a mature idol group selection mechanism cannot be formed. Even if occasionally a talent agency develops a popular singing and dancing group through auditions, it will quickly lose popularity because there are not many music programs to appear on, and they will have to disband and go solo. We can follow their example and develop various music singing programs, music talent shows, and music variety shows, so that ATV can become the soil for the survival and development of Chinese pop music. Select idol groups in Hong Kong, Taiwan, South Korea, Southeast Asia, and other places to cultivate a fan market. Although Chinese music in later generations is getting worse and worse, music programs are still very popular. The Voice, The King of Crossover Singer, Tomorrow's Sun, etc., there are endless popular music programs. While there are not many music programs in the mainland, we should seize this blank space as soon as possible. The more Zhou listened, the brighter his eyes became, and he smiled and said, hubby, I knew you must have a way. Li Jie glanced at her and said, if ATV wants to become a music television station in Asia and Southeast Asia, it must be open and inclusive, keep up with fashion trends, and it cannot be limited to Chinese pop music. After a pause, he added, the other thing is to integrate it with online media. With the rise of online media, the decline of TV stations is inevitable. Husband, an inexplicable smile suddenly appeared on Zhou's pretty face. If you like any combination in the future, just tell me and I can help you arrange it. What are you talking about? Li Jie was stunned for a moment and scolded her in a funny way. How could such a serious person like him have any evil thoughts? Husband, I heard that you bought Tara. Cough cough cough. What man could not love Xiaozhou, such a considerate little lover? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 647. Li Jie turned to Tiara and the other 6 girls and said, have you all finished putting on your makeup? Hello, President, we are Tiara. 6 girls, Li Juari, Ham Zhang, Park Homin, Park Ji-yeon, Park So-yeon, and Quan Bo-lam, came to stand in line in front of him, bowed slightly and shouted in unison. It's just that their Chinese pronunciation is a bit weird. Although they started to learn Chinese unexpectedly after coming to China, and after more than half a year they were able to have simple conversations, their accents were still quite strange, and they were incomparable to Li Zian and Lin Runyi who were fluent in Chinese. After shouting slogans, Tiara and the other 6 girls gathered around Li Jie. They talked to each other and were very close to him. President, didn't you say you wanted to treat us to dinner? It's been a long time, you won't forget, right? I will treat you to a big dinner next time, Li Jie said with a smile. The 6 girls were uniformly dressed in sexy outfits similar to sailor suits and white sailor hats. They had hot figures and long legs, and they looked very pleasing to the eye. If there is a chance, he must let a few of them dance to him in private. Don't get me wrong, it's really just about making them dance. Next time? When is the next time? Yes, yes. The 6 girls acted coquettishly, and the youngest member of the group, Zion, even held Li Zhe's arm, almost pressing her whole body against him. When they were in South Korea, they were boycotted by the whole country because of the Lu Huaying incident, but the company let them do nothing and did not help them clarify. Instead, they made them publicly apologize, which completely confirmed the black water that was poured on them. In contrast, although Li Zhe, the new president, is Chinese, he treats them very well and takes great care of them. He never lets them feel wronged and even feels like a relative. This made them become closer and more dependent on the new president. It feels so good to have a backstage. Li Zhe seemed to be a little helpless by them. He thought for a while and said, "Okay, I will welcome you to my home after the new year, and I will treat you all to a big dinner. Don't think too much about it, it's just a serious meal." Xiao Jiao and Xiao Yu really misunderstood him, and he really had no idea about Tiara and the others. I bought them just to pick up the slack. After all, they are one of the strongest girl groups in South Korea. If there is an opportunity to buy them at a low price, why not buy them? As for being nice to them, this is a cash cow, so of course we should treat them better. Many people say that Tiara is the most beautiful girl group in South Korea, but Li Zhe can't get their looks at all, and even thinks they are average. Not only Tiara, but also South Korean girl groups, he basically can't get their looks. Even if his thighs were blown up by some people in the country, in girls' generation, only So Hyun still met his taste. It is undeniable that Lin Runyi is definitely a beauty, but she feels more like the little sister next door. Who would have evil thoughts about the little sister next door? Also, she is too thin, holding a hem. In Li Zhe's opinion, most of the female idols and celebrities in South Korea are dull in appearance and a bit petty. With similar hairstyles and makeup, they all look the same, as if they came from an assembly line. Most of them he can't appreciate. It can only be said that South Korea's star-making industry is indeed developed, and it is even better at packaging, and everything about its appearance is just blown away. What is Shinyan? Zhou Ziyu, Wang Zhaining, and Lu Yufei are the 3 who can be regarded as the real beauty. They are stunning at first sight and will never be forgotten. Those who say Lu Yufei is not good looking must have never seen her in person. Anyone who wants to have a girlfriend like her, at the peak of her appearance, will definitely be blown away. Xiao Jiao, Lu Kaiyu, Shen Xinyi, and others can only be regarded as school beauties, 1 in 1,000. A university with 20 to 30,000 people can usually find 2 or 3, or even more. Once they heard that Li Zhe invited them to his home, Tiara and the other 6 girls were all extremely surprised. "President, can we visit your home?" "That's great." Seeing their excited expressions, Li Zhe smiled inwardly. They are idols, and their acting skills are actually quite good. There is no simplicity in the entertainment industry, let alone the South Korean entertainment industry. They acted like this just to win his favor. Even in order to have a good relationship with him, the president, they probably wouldn't mind sacrifice. "Can I go with you?" Li Zian interrupted. She deliberately looked jealous. "I have never been to the president's house." "And me, count me in," Lin Yuner also said. "Of course, you two are also welcome to be guests," Li Zhe said to them with a smile, his eyes focused on Li Zian. This Li Jian is one of the few South Korean female celebrities who has unique features that allow her to achieve good looks, not to mention this annoying little fairy is not an ordinary person. In particular, Li Zhe stayed for a short while, chatted with Tiara, Li Zian, and Lin Runyi for a few words before leaving. He also wanted to check out other dressing rooms. As soon as I came out of the dressing room, 6 or 7 beautiful girls with their own characteristics walked towards me. When the shortest girl among them saw Li Jie, joy suddenly appeared on her face. She ran 2 steps quickly and came to him and said affectionately, "Brother Jie." "It's Xiaju." Li Jie had a smile on his face and reached out to touch her head. When the other 5 or 6 girls saw this scene, they had different expressions, and they were all more or less envious. They had all heard that Xiaju had a good relationship with Mr. Li, and that she was a relative of Mr. Li. They were not sure about it before, but now it seems that it is true. But not everyone can care about the big boss calling him brother. It is important whether people are compatible or not. Li Jie found Sichenqian very pleasing to his eyes and liked her quite a bit. "Of course it's just the love for my little sister, nothing else." There was a lot of scandal about her in later generations, but it was nothing more than plastic surgery and the burden of being an idol, which was too artificial. But this is nothing at all. At least she is very qualified to be an idol, and she has not used her fame to deceive fans or ordinary people. This alone is better than most stars. Li Jie looked at the other girls and asked, "How many of you are performing together?" These girls all look familiar. Wu Yiyi, Wu Jian, Chen Yao. Bai Menjian. Bai Menjian didn't expect that the big boss Li Jie actually knew her name. She was stunned for a moment and then said quickly as if she had come to her senses, "Hello, Mr. Li, I'm Bai Menjian." She participated in the audition of the South Korean branch of Cuckoo Entertainment in 2012 and has been receiving training there since then. This was the first time she met Li Jie. Li Jie looked at her and smiled lightly as if she was remembering something. Bai Menjian was even more confused. Could it be that there was something wrong with her makeup? Milk-skinned Bai Menjian. The peerless beauty Bai Menjian. Fairy descends to earth Bai Menjian. At this time, Bai Menjian turned out to be so innocent, cute, and had little tiger teeth, but who would have thought that she would be a funny girl in the future? As the time gradually approached 8 p.m., all the lights in the gymnasium suddenly dimmed. The originally noisy venue suddenly became quiet. "It's finally about to begin," Wen Ting, Guo Jian's girlfriend, couldn't help but whisper. Soon, the lights on the stage came on, and the sexy and hot figures of Tiara and 6 other girls appeared on the stage. As soon as they appeared on the stage, many people in the audience shouted excitedly. Tiara, Guan Xian, who was sitting next to Lu Ji, also shouted excitedly. He Zhigang couldn't help but turn his head and glance at her. The other person seemed quite gentle and intellectual, not like a star-chasing person. Tiara and the others were originally very popular in China, but they have been appearing on shows like crazy in the past 6 months, and their popularity is no worse than Girls' Generation. After all, China is their home field. Chinese people also have a particularly favorable impression of naturalized foreigners. Otherwise, "I love China" would not become a code of wealth. "You are my little apple." Accompanied by the loud music, 6 girls like Tiara performed a sexy dance, and their long legs were very eye-catching. The audience kept screaming and the atmosphere became more and more lively. Inspired by Guan Xian, Lu Jian, and Wen Ting also waved light sticks and shouted slogans. "Tiara! Tiara! Tiara!" He Zhigang glanced at his girlfriend Lu Jian and found it a little difficult to understand their thoughts. In fact, if Lu Jian didn't really want to come to watch the Spring Festival Gala, he wouldn't want to come at all. This round-trip air ticket, including hotel accommodation, shopping, and other expenses, costs about 5,000 to 6,000, which is too expensive. This year, 2013, he saved a total of less than 60,000 yuan. The salary has increased, the year-end bonus has increased, but the money has not been saved at all. Falling in love is too expensive. In order to collect the 200,000 yuan, and then ask Li Jie and Lu Kaiyu to borrow some money for the down payment to buy a house, at least 1 more year, 1 year is not enough, It will take 2 or 3 years. Housing prices in Shanghai have grown too fast. At the end of 2012, the average price per square meter was still more than 23,000, but it rose to 30,000 in a little more than a year. The little money you can save after working for a year is not enough to cover half of the rate at which housing prices are rising. If this continues, he is likely to become increasingly unable to afford a house. If it doesn't work, why don't you ask Li Jie and Lu Kaiyu to borrow more? But if he borrows too much, he will have to repay the mortgage and the loan. His salary will not be enough, and he will not be able to live or support his family. Recently, Lu Qian said that she wanted to buy a car, but it would be too inconvenient to go to work. Why? Why did He's Higang ask Li Jie and Lu Kaiyu to borrow money separately? Why can't you just make up your mind and just borrow more? Ordinary people are like this. They are always obsessed with things like face and dignity. Even if they borrow money, they dare not borrow more for fear of not paying it back. In fact, in the face of reality, the so-called face and dignity are worthless. The more people worry about face and dignity, the harder it will be to live well and the less face they will lose. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 648. After Tiara sang a cheerful and exciting song Little Apple, 4 male and female hosts including Xiao Yu and Chen Kitai took to the stage, and the Spring Festival Gala officially kicked off. This female host is so beautiful, Guan Xian looked through a small telescope in her hand, and the stage in the distance seemed to be very close at hand. She looks like a good girl, but in fact she is a fanatical fan of stars. She has been to many concerts, so she was naturally well prepared for the party this time. Not only her, Lu Qian and Wenting also had telescopes in their hands, and even Guoji unprepared one. Only He's Higang was a layman and unprepared. Shanghai Bund. Binjiang Yawan Community. Xiaojin and Miao Wenqin were watching the Spring Festival Gala with Father Chiao and Mother Chiao. Xiaojin graduated in June this year, 2013, and joined Qwen Technology, still working under Miao Wenqin. Miao Wenqin joined Kudong Group in 2011, and within 2 or 3 years, she was promoted from an ordinary employee to the deputy manager of the game event planning department of Qwen Technology. Xiaojin doesn't want to play with technology at all, and wants to play with Zixi. He studied e-commerce in college, and working as an event planner in a game company is completely inappropriate for his major. The most important thing is that working under my girlfriend and being ordered around by my girlfriend not only makes me lose face, but also gives me no freedom at all. Every month's salary must be handed in first, and Miao Wenqin will give him some pocket money. As for hiding some private money, don't even think about it. Miao Wenqin knows even better than himself about how much money Xiaojin pays. Is this going to be the case in this life? At work and in the company, I listen to my girlfriend, but when I get home, I have to be controlled by my girlfriend again. Not to mention going to the KTV to relax and chat with the ladies. Even if you are having a meal with your colleagues, you must first talk to Miao Wenqin and get money from her. It's not that Xiaojin didn't think about resisting, he also thought about breaking up with Miao Wenqin. However, both father and mother Chiao fully supported Miao Wenqin as the prospective daughter-in-law, and even Xiao Chiao stood by Miao Wenqin. Even his brother-in-law didn't support him. Who made him make mistakes? By the way, the wedding date of the two has been set, and it will be May 9 next year, 2014, which is also the auspicious day when Mother Chiao is specifically looking for a good candidate. His brother-in-law made so many mistakes and it was fine. Why did he become a sinner after he only made one mistake? If she could choose again, Xiaojin would never take the initiative to pursue Miao Wenqin again. What? With Miao Wenqin as a very beautiful and capable girlfriend, why didn't he know about it? No matter how beautiful your girlfriend is, she will get tired of her after a long time. In Xiaojin's heart, Miao Wenqian is no longer the senior sister he fell in love with at first sight. In fact, Xiaojin can be so happy to be controlled by his senior sister, and he must also thank Li Jie, a good brother-in-law. If Li Jie hadn't collected the certificate from Xiao Qiao early in the morning, Miao Wenqian might have let him free long ago. Before receiving the certificate, Xiao Qiao was just one of Li Jie's many girlfriends. Once Li Jie and Xiao Qiao break up, Xiao Jin, the cheap brother-in-law, will be nothing. How could Miao Wenqian marry him? After all, in the eyes of outsiders, it is really unlikely that Li Jie will marry Xiao Qiao. How do you say that, when you land on the beach, kill the person you want with the first sword? This female host is so beautiful. Mother Qiao was watching TV and eating melon seeds. She is very beautiful, no worse than Xiao Qiao. Qiao's father also nodded and said. This statement is largely subjective. In the eyes of most people, Xiao Yu's appearance is slightly higher than Xiao Qiao's, and his temperament is also better. Xiaojin looked at Xiao Yu on TV, but secretly guessed whether the other person was also having an affair with his brother-in-law. Otherwise she would have become the leading actress of ATV and could host the Spring Festival Gala. He originally wanted to go to Hong Kong Island to watch the Spring Festival Gala, and even ask Xiao Qiao for tickets, but Miao Wenqian didn't want to go. She had been busy for a year, and she wanted to have a good rest at home for a few days during the Spring Festival. Qiao's father and Qiao's mother also support their prospective daughter-in-law. Mom, please eat an apple. Miao Wenqian handed a freshly peeled apple to Mother Qiao. This apple is also from my brother-in-law's farm. Although it is not big in size, it tastes very good. Li Jie attaches great importance to personal food safety issues. A few years ago, he allocated a piece of land in Huzhu to grow purely natural grains and vegetables using farmyard manure, no pesticides. Later, he set up farms and fish ponds, and also asked people to purchase various high-end ingredients with guaranteed food safety at home and abroad. Li Jie, Xiao Qiao and Zhou Ziyu used a small portion of these ingredients for themselves, and gave the rest away. Li's mother, Qiao's father, Qiao's mother, Zhou Qing, and others, as well as Zhao Jie, Zhang Xiaolin, Yu Zhongfeng and other senior executives of Kudong Group. The cost of planting, breeding, and purchasing ingredients alone is as high as 30 to 40 million a year. Mother Qiao also took the apple and took a bite. She nodded and said, well, this apple is really good. It has the same flavor as the apples I ate when I was a child. Dad, please try one too. Miao Wenqian peeled another apple for Father Qiao. Finally it was Xiaojin's turn. Mother Qiao glanced at Miao Wenqian and nodded with satisfaction. Her soon-to-be daughter-in-law is beautiful and capable. She is also very sensible and discerning. She also respects their elders. Without Li Jie as his son-in-law, how could Xiao Jin find such a good girlfriend? He is still not satisfied. At this time, the four male and female hosts on TV, including Xiao Yu and Chen Kitai, finished their opening remarks, and Zhou Ziyu stepped onto the stage to deliver a speech. Mother Qiao's face suddenly darkened when she saw Zhou Ziyu. Xiao Jie is so used to this vixen that he even asked her to take charge of a TV station worth billions. As expected of mother and daughter, they even speak in the same tone. Father Qiao was silent but did not speak. They had long discovered that their good son-in-law had other women outside, and there was more than one. But there is nothing you can do. You can't let your daughter divorce Li Jie. Wouldn't it be an advantage to those vixens outside? However, Mother Qiao hated Zhou Ziyu. Whenever I see news about her, I can't help but curse a few words. She didn't know that Zhou Ziyu was the first to seduce Li Jie. As for Li Jie's hook UPS, Xiao Qiao always helped him cover them up. It can only be said that Zhou Ziyu's vixen appearance is too easy for people to hate. Xiaojin was a little disapproving in his heart. In his opinion, his brother-in-law was good enough. If it were another situation, he would definitely choose Zhou. Thinking this, he turned his head and met Miao Wenqian's bright eyes. No, his sister is better. As expected, his brother-in-law still understands women better than he does. A community not far from Binjiang Graceland. Liu's father and Liu's mother also watched the Spring Festival Gala together. This Zhou doesn't look serious, Mother Lu said while looking at Zhou on the TV series. It's probably Xiaoji who she seduced first. When they found out that their daughter was actually a mistress, Liu's father and Liu's mother were shocked, angry, and difficult to accept, but in the end they reluctantly accepted the reality. Why are you talking about this? Xiaoyu is also. Father Lu shook his head and did not continue. He also misjudged the situation. He didn't expect that boy Li Jie, with thick eyebrows and big eyes, to be so carefree. Liu's mother was not happy when she heard this, and raised her voice and said, "What you said is that she took the initiative to seduce, while we Xiaoyu, passively compromised and accepted. Can this be the same? Not many parents can heartily accept their daughter being someone else's mistress. After all, there are only a few people like Zhou Qing who want women to have 3 children. If Xiaoyu hadn't identified that guy Li Jie, she would definitely let her break up with him. Don't think that having money is a big deal. She can't be bought with a car, and jade bracelet, and a villa." In order to please his father-in-law and mother-in-law, Li Jie bought a lakeside villa in Tanzhou worth 120 million yuan with a total construction area of 1,200 square meters to give to Qiao's father and mother Qiao for their retirement. Housing prices in Tanzhou are not high, and it can be considered a lowland in a second-tier city. This $120 million villa directly broke the record for the total price of a single villa in Tanzhou, leaving a legend that has attracted discussions among men, women, and children in Tanzhou. However, Liu's father and Liu's mother did not move into the villa. "Why don't we let Xiaoyu have a baby as soon as possible?" Liu's mother suddenly said to Liu's father. Father Lu was startled when he heard this. "I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn." Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 649. Chongqing City, Shapingba. Father Shen, Mother Shen, relatives and friends were also watching the Spring Festival Gala. They did not go to Shanghai to celebrate the New Year at Shen Xinyi's villa, and the two of them felt even more lonely without their daughter by their side. "It's better to stay here in my hometown, where relatives and friends are making it even more lively." Regarding the incident of their daughter becoming a lover, Father Shen and Mother Shen took a relatively open view. They had long felt that their daughter was not worthy of Li Jie. He was too good. He started a successful business at a young age and became a billionaire boss. The only good thing about their daughter is that she is pretty and cute. The academic qualification is only a college degree. Do rich people lack beautiful girls around them? So after learning that Li Jie already had a girlfriend and that their daughter was just one of his lovers, Father Shen and Mother Shen quickly accepted the reality after a brief period of loss. "Now that my daughter and Li Jie have a child, their relationship has become more stable. They only have this one daughter. As long as she can live a happy life without worries about food and clothing, that's enough. What's more, even if her daughter really marries Li Jie, she may not be able to secure that position. On the contrary, it would be better to be more stable like she is now." At this time, Tsuyu's speech on TV ended, and the audience burst into warm applause. The camera panned to the audience in the front row. Li Jie, Xiaoqiao, and Lu Kaiyu were all laughing and applauding. Shen Xinyi in the back row also flashed past the camera. But this one shot made all the relatives and friends of the Shen family present excited. "Look, Xinyi has appeared. Xinyi is getting more and more beautiful. Not only is she beautiful, her temperament is also getting better and better. What is this called, by the way? It's nobility. I just said that this kid Xinyi will definitely be successful when he grows up. I guess I am right." Listening to the compliments and flattery from relatives and friends, Father Shen and Mother Shen couldn't help but smile on their faces. In the past few years, the life of the two of them has become more and more comfortable. Wherever they go, others look at them with envy and respect. More and more relatives and friends are coming to visit, and even during the holidays, leaders from the town and county come to ask for help. Being a mistress is a nice thing to say or not. Generally, if someone's daughter works as a mistress outside, once the news spreads to the village, people will inevitably talk about it and gossip about it. But Shenzhenyi is different. How can anyone be qualified to be the lover of the top richest man in the country? It will only make people envious and envious of her good life. Even Shen's father and Shen's mother were highly respected. After Zhou Ziyu finished his speech, Vice President of Strategic Operations Zhang Xiaolin also came on stage to speak a few words on behalf of Kudong Group, and then the party officially began. Li Jie just sat quietly in the audience and did not speak on stage. Sun Wanning, Zhao Minjiao, Chen Xian, and other top internet celebrities danced. Lin Yuner sang in Chinese, Li Zian led the singing and dancing team, and Tiara and the other 6 girls even appeared on the stage several times. One show after another, the atmosphere at the scene is getting higher and higher. When Liu Yufei took the stage, the atmosphere reached its peak, and the stadium with tens of thousands of people was filled with the roar of mountains and tsunami. After the 3 TV series Moon Hotel, Star U and 3 Lives 3 Worlds were aired, she was truly promoted to the top line, and her popularity completely surpassed Chuang Bing. In particular, Star U became popular throughout Asia, making her famous throughout Asia. Shortly after 3 Lives 3 Worlds was aired in the second half of 2012, Liu Yufei got her first Hollywood A-level production, and received an invitation from Paramount to star in Transformers 4 as the heroine. This news directly shocked the entire entertainment industry. This is the first time that someone from the mainland has obtained a Hollywood A-level masterpiece, and it is a super IP like Transformers. Her fans are even more excited. Their sissy has received an A-level Hollywood production. Who dares to deny that she is an international superstar? Being able to receive a major Hollywood A-level production is the best proof of an actor's ability and popularity. This is also true. Paramount was able to make an exception and allow her, an Asian, to play the heroine of Transformers because of her popularity in China and throughout Asia. Liu's mother was also sitting in the audience, quietly watching her daughter perform on the stage. Her goal was finally achieved. Her daughter entered Hollywood and became an international superstar, but she didn't have any sense of accomplishment. Instead, she felt a little disappointed. After all, she still failed to help her daughter grasp Li Jie, the best candidate for son-in-law. It can only be said that the gain outweighs the loss. After Liu Yufei's performance, the atmosphere at the scene dropped. The next few shows were a bit tepid. The time gradually came to 10 o'clock in the evening, and it was time for the annual Yufei lottery draw. Every year during the 5 Blessings collection event, 1 millionaire and 2 millionaires are born, so it is nicknamed the 5 Blessings Lottery by netizens. The Yufei lottery is not only free, but the probability of winning is higher than that of the lottery. Unfortunately, it can only be opened once a year. This year the prize pool for the 5 Blessings collection event has increased to 200 million, and the number of people collecting the 5 blessings has also surged to more than 30 million. Domestic smartphone users have skyrocketed in the past 2 years, reaching 400 million. I shot 2.67. I'm a little more 5.28. I'm 10.82. Lu Qian, Guan Xian, and Wen Ting said one after another. 100.56, Guo Jian shook the phone screen a little showily. Most people give out red envelopes of around 2-5 yuan. If you give out a red envelope of 100 yuan, you are considered lucky. Holy shit, Lu Ji suddenly exclaimed. How come you won't win the grand prize? Wen Ting couldn't help but ask. Almost, Lu Ji said with a smile. It's 666. 666 is the largest red envelope that can be given out besides the tens of millions and millions of grand prizes. This luck can be said to be extremely good. He's again glanced at Luigi with envy. This guy was so lucky. This luck doesn't just mean getting big red envelopes. Wen Ting curled her lips in her heart. What kind of grand prize is 666? At this time, there was a sudden commotion in the back row of the auditorium. What's going on here? After a while, people nearby said that someone at the scene had won $1 million jackpot. Who is so lucky? Wen Ting's tone was full of envy. 1 million in this era is enough to change the fate of ordinary people. After the 5 blessings, the party soon came to an end. The finale was Happy Twist's skit class reunion, which was full of irony. After watching the skit, Li Jie, Xiaoqiao, Zhou Ziyu, Lu Kaiyu, Shen Xinyi, Wang Haining, Bai Wei, and Zhao Minjiao left early. We walked out of the stadium through the VIP channel, got into a large Mercedes-Benz RV, and headed towards Victoria Harbor. This RV has 9 seats, but it's just barely big enough. Xiaoqiao looked at the night view outside the car window for a while, then turned around and said, I feel like time is passing faster and faster, and 1 year has passed in the blink of an eye. She will be 26 at midnight today, actually 27, and she is about to have her 3rd birthday. When you reach 30 years old, you are getting old. Shen Xian nodded in agreement. I feel the same way. When I was a child, I always felt that time passed very slowly, but since I went to college, it seems that time has suddenly become faster. Li Jie smiled and said, in the eyes of a 10-year-old child, 1 year is 1/10 of a lifetime, and in the eyes of a 50-year-old middle-aged and elderly person, 1 year is 1/50th of a lifetime. In other words, a year in the eyes of a child is different from a year in the eyes of an adult. Xiaoqiao seemed to have thought of something, glanced at him and said, when we get older in a few years, won't you dislike us? Li Jie shook his head and said, you are not that exaggerated. In a few years, you will only be around 30 years old, which is when you will be most attractive. Lu Yufei was 35, virtually, years old, in 2021, before he was reborn, but as long as she was willing to marry, he was still willing to marry her and would never despise her age. This guy is really shameless. But what about 10 more years or several decades? We will all grow old one day. Doesn't it mean that all of you men will always like 18? No girl will always be 18, but there will always be girls who are 18, Zhou Ziyu said with a chuckle. The two of them cooperated quite well at this time. When you are old, I will be old too. Li Jie didn't know if he would change in a few decades. The changes in people's hearts were something that even he couldn't predict. But you must not tell the truth at this time. I've also heard a saying that a man will only be honest if he hangs on the wall, Lu Kaiyu added with a smile. With just you guys squeezing me like this, I might not be completely honest until a few decades later. In order to get rid of this fatal problem, Li Jie did not hesitate to slander his male dignity. Xiaoqiao, Zhou Ziyu, and the others were stunned when they heard this, and burst into laughter. Decades later are too far away, and they don't want to think too much about it. Bang! 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 At this time, the sound of fireworks sounded outside the car, and fireworks continued to bloom in the air, lighting up the entire night sky. We have arrived at Victoria Harbor and are setting off fireworks to welcome the new year. The RV stopped near Victoria Harbor. Li Jie, Xiaoqiao, and Zhou Ziyu got out of the car, enjoying the sea breeze and quietly enjoying the fireworks show. Soon, an overwhelming countdown sounded on both sides of the seashore. 10, 9, 8, 7, 3, 2, 1. At the moment when the clock struck 0, the entire night sky was illuminated by blooming fireworks, and cheers resounded throughout the sky. Husband, brother Jie, Happy New Year, Xiaoqiao, Zhou Ziyu, Lu Kaiyu, Shen Xinyi, Wang Haining, Bai Wei, and Zhao Minjiao said almost in unison. Happy New Year, Li Jie also said to them with a smile. The new year is here again. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanjie. Chapter 650. In early March 2014, the new spring fashion show held by Seal Clothing was once again a complete success. Held twice a year, spring and autumn, this is the third fashion show held by Seal Clothing, and its influence has been further expanded. Hundreds of popular stars and internet celebrities participated in this catwalk event. Under the leadership of Bai Wei, after nearly 2 years of development, Seal Clothing has formed a complete industrial chain from product design, manufacturing to sales, focusing on affordable luxury fashion and sports fashion brands. Sports series, light luxury women's clothing, trendy brand accessories. Relying on novel and fashionable designs, affordable prices, and cost-effectiveness, as well as the endorsement and promotion of many celebrities and internet celebrities, the Seal brand has rapidly expanded online and offline to seize the market. In just over a year, brand stores have been established in more than 30 first and second-tier cities across the country, including Beijing, Shanghai, and Hangzhou, with online and offline sales reaching 1.3 billion. It has initially established a brand effect and has a firm foothold in the market. Shortly after the fashion show, Bai Wei announced its entry into the cosmetics market, focusing on natural and harmless skincare products. Seal Clothing was also officially upgraded to a group company. Seal Brand Group. The company's business has expanded to include men's and women's clothing, shoes, bags, accessories, cosmetics, etc. In April and May, Li Jie sent people to acquire several beverage factories one after another and began to get involved in the beverage market, focusing on sparkling water and healthy sugar-free drinks. In the same year, products such as Yuankai Forest, Teapai, and Liangbeikai were launched. In fact, as early as 2012, Li Jie had the idea of entering the beverage market, and he reached a cooperation with the food engineering major of Shanghai Jiaotong University and began to study the formulas of Yuankai Forest series, Teapai, and other beverages. In the past decade or two, carbonated drinks have dominated the domestic consumer market. However, in recent years, people's consumption concepts have gradually changed, paying more attention to healthy diet and pursuing sugar-free and low-sugar. Sugar-free, low-sugar drinks and energy drinks are increasingly popular among young people. This time dividing line is probably around 2016. In 2011, Nongfu Spring grandly launched the sugar-free tea series Oriental Leaves, but sales have always been tepid, even bleak. In the past, sugar-free drinks had almost no place in the domestic market. Consumers have long been accustomed to the fact that drinks must be sweet. In addition, Oriental Leaves is very unpalatable, and together with Lushan white flower snake grass water and kvass, it has been rated as the worst drink by the media. But since 2017, the sales of Oriental Leaf have begun to grow rapidly, and it has gradually become a fashionable drink among young people. Li Jie launched the Yuankai Forest series in advance just to seize the sugar-free and low-sugar beverage market first. Yuankai Forest is much better tasting than Oriental Leaves? In fact, Li Jie asked Bai Wei to choose natural skincare products because of the changes in young people's consumption concepts. People are paying more and more attention to health and are paying more and more attention to the ingredients of skincare products and cosmetics. Purely natural and harmless cosmetics will be more likely to be favored by young people. As a latecomer, if you want to compete with those established manufacturing companies, you must not get involved in the traditional commodity market. Instead, you must develop emerging markets and achieve overtaking in corners. Clothing, beverages, cosmetics, and new energy. After 2 or 3 years, Li Jie has initially completed the layout of traditional manufacturing industries. Next up are medicine and artificial intelligence. In the medical field, Li Jie does not plan to get involved in the traditional medical device industry. The power behind this piece of cake is too great for him to touch. I just want to acquire a biomedical research institute abroad to do some research on anti-aging and medical beauty technology. He is still very young and does not need to think about extending his life for the time being. This is mainly for Xiao Qiao and Zhou Ziyu. In the field of artificial intelligence, it is involved in the development of AI chat software. Kudong Group started late in the field of AI technology. Microsoft abroad began to conduct research in these aspects more than 10 or 20 years ago, and Baidu in China also began researching AI intelligent technology a few years ago. But if the technology is not good, it can be developed and researched, and it must not be left out. The main business of Kudong Group is games, and games are inseparable from artificial intelligence technology. Artificial intelligence and VR technology are both the cornerstones of virtual reality games in the future. On May 9, Xiaojin and Miao Wenqin held their wedding in a 5-star hotel in Shanghai. The wedding was not a big one. Only relatives of both parties and some close friends and classmates were invited. Neither of them sent wedding invitations to their colleagues in the same department. The fact that Xiaojin was Li Jie's advantageous brother-in-law was only known to the senior management of the Dongfang Group, and colleagues in their unit had no idea at all. He didn't even know that he and Miao Wenqin were boyfriend and girlfriend. Miao Wenqin is the goddess of their department. She is beautiful, capable, and has a good personality. She never loses her temper with her subordinates. This is beyond the reach of Xiaojin, an ordinary-looking employee. Once, Xiaojin told a close colleague, half jokingly and half seriously, that Miao Wenqin was actually his girlfriend. But the other party only thought he was joking. How is this possible, unless he is the brother-in-law of the big boss of the group? Hotel Bridal Lounge. Miao Wenqin, who was wearing an exquisite wedding dress and was extremely beautiful, was sitting on the big bed in the room. The bridesmaid group composed of her best friends and classmates sat around and talked. Wen Qian, you've been hiding so well that you haven't been able to tell the truth for so long. Are you worried that we will steal a man from you? Wen Qian is hiding her secret, otherwise how could she have found such a good husband? Several girls talked to me and laughed, their voices full of envy. It wasn't until they met Xiao Qiao just now that they discovered that the man was actually Li Jie's brother-in-law. They were still wondering why Miao Wenqin would choose to marry such an ordinary man. It turns out that the man's background is anything but ordinary. This is Li Jie's brother-in-law. Miao Wenqin will become famous after marrying him. Why is her life so good? On the surface, they complimented and blessed Miao Wenqin, but in their hearts they were a little complicated. I'm not only afraid that my best friend will have a hard time, but I'm also afraid that my best friend will drive a Land Rover. Miao Wenqin always had a happy smile on her face, how could she introduce Xiaojin to them? I don't know that there is a saying, fire prevention, theft prevention, best friend prevention. She was careless last time, which allowed Chai Xiaoyan to take advantage of her. Yes, she doesn't like Xiaojin, but they still have feelings for each other after 4 years together. What's more, for women, it doesn't matter whether they like the person they are marrying or not, as long as they don't dislike them, the most important thing is that they are suitable. Xiaojin is now Li Jie's real brother-in-law. After she married him, her status and career took off immediately. Miao Wenqin has only been promoted to the position of deputy department manager within 2 or 3 years of joining Kudong Technology. This is not something that can only be achieved by strong ability. There are many people who are more capable than her. In the groom's lounge, Xiaojin was wearing a tailor-made suit and was sitting lazily on a chair, showing little joy in getting married. Li Jie, Xiao Qiao, Qiao's father and Qiao's mother sat aside and warned him. When your brother-in-law talks to you, look at you. You can't sit still, Father Qiao scolded him. Dad, my brother-in-law is not an outsider, Xiaojin said and sat up straight. It's not that he really doesn't like Miao Wenqian, he just doesn't like being controlled. What's more, he had already seen clearly that Miao Wenqian didn't like him at all, and she only wanted to be with him and even get married because of his brother-in-law. This made Xiaojun very frustrated. He also knew that he relied on his brother-in-law to pursue Miao Wenqian, but without his brother-in-law, would he really be useless? Is there anything that Miao Wenqian likes? I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 651. Li Zhe glanced at Xiaojun and vaguely guessed what this cheap brother-in-law was thinking. Don't be dissatisfied, kid. Wen Qian is an excellent girl. She is beautiful, has a good temperament, and has a strong working ability. If you weren't my brother-in-law, do you really think you could chase him down? Xiaojun lowered her head slightly after hearing this, seeming a little discouraged. Li Zhe paused and then said, but you don't have to feel inferior or anything like that. Having a good sister is also a skill, just like some people are born into the second generation of rich people. After you get married and start a family, you should also mature. You and Wen Qian should tolerate each other, understand each other, and communicate more with each other, so that your marriage can be happy and long-lasting. He is a cheap brother-in-law who has a bit of an out-of-touch personality and may not be mature enough, so he needs a mature girlfriend to take care of him. He and Miao Wenqian may not seem like a good match, but they are actually quite suitable. Although Miao Wenqian is a bit realistic, she is mature, rational and knows how to make choices. As long as he is around, there won't be any big problems in her marriage with Xiaojun. A marriage based on interests is more stable than a marriage based on love. Brother-in-law, I understand, I will get along well with Xiaoqian. Xiaojun nodded and said. This boy is not likely to listen to what Father Qiao and Mother Qiao say, but he is still willing to listen to what Li Zhe, his brother-in-law, says. Xiaojun hesitated for a moment and then said, Brother-in-law, can I go to Pinzixi's place? In the event planning department, I feel like I am just dawdling every day. I am only the major shareholder of Pinzixi, not a controlling shareholder. You have to think clearly, going there is not as good as my own company, Li Zhe said. When Pinduoduo was first founded, Penguin held 51% of the shares and Kudong Group held 49%. However, after several rounds of large-scale financing, Li Zhe only held about 28% of the shares. It would be great if you just work in your brother-in-law's company. Xiaoqian is here and you two can take care of each other, Mother Qiao interjected. It's just because she's here that it's not good, Xiaojun muttered in her heart. Brother-in-law, I still want to give Pinzixi a try. I majored in e-commerce, and my major there is the right one. Li Zhe nodded, okay, then I'll say hello to Vice President Su from Pinzixi. When you and Wen Qian come back from your honeymoon, just go find him directly. Thank you, brother-in-law. I will do a good job there and won't embarrass you, Xiaojun said with a smile. If he no longer works for his girlfriend, daughter-in-law, how can he hide some personal money? Li Zhe smiled in his heart. He actually arranged Xiaojun to work under Miao Wenqian on purpose. That is to ask Miao Wenqian to strictly control this boy for a period of time before marriage, and be strict first and then loosen up. Otherwise Miao Wenqian would not have confiscated his salary card. Today you and Wen Qian are getting married. This house is a wedding gift from my brother-in-law to you, Li Zhe said and took out a bunch of keys from his body. The house is not big, only about 120 square meters, a small 3-bedroom apartment, but the location is pretty good. Xiaojun was stunned for a moment, then took the key in surprise. Thank you, brother-in-law, you are so kind to me. A 120 square meter house in Shanghai costs at least 4 to 5 million. What's more, with his brother-in-law's generosity, the house given away will definitely not be bad, and it will probably be worth tens of millions. Your brother-in-law is good to you, why can't I be good to you? Xiao Jiao looked at his younger brother with a playful smile. Sister, you are just as good to me, Xiaojin quickly said to her smiling face. Without you, how could I have such a good brother-in-law? Okay, you passed. Xiao Jiao also took out a bunch of keys from his body and handed them to him. Wen Qian doesn't like that Maserati very much. You can take it and drive it for her. It's my wedding gift to you too. Sister, you are so good, Xiaojin happily took the car keys. It's better to get married. How could he continue to receive such expensive gifts without getting married? This boy is quite easy to satisfy. Li Jie was quite satisfied with his brother-in-law. At least not greedy, which is very rare. There are too many people who have unsatisfied desires. They think they are relatives, and if you have money, you should give it to them. They are ungrateful when they get it. They just want more and feel resentful when they are not satisfied at all. Just like his cheap brother. This is it. Zhang Yu, who was beautifully dressed, got out of a black Porsche Cayenne with her handbag in hand. She looked up at the hotel building and said something to the man who got off the other side of the car. The man looked to be in his early 30s, wearing a high-end suit and looked like a successful man. Xiao, do you really have a good relationship with Miss Jiao? Zhang Yu looked a little impatient. Didn't I tell you that when I was in school, Xiao Jiao and I had the best relationship among the 6 people in the dormitory? Well, she thinks so. The man chuckled, but he didn't think so. You have such a good relationship with Xiao Jiao, why are you still a small actor after so many years of work? Zhang Yu also became popular for a short period of time, with millions of fans on the Kudong platform. Thanks to Xiao Jiao, he also appeared in a special episode of the school beauty season of Running Man. Li Jie originally arranged that opportunity for Xiao Jiao, but Xiao Jiao didn't go. But as soon as the heat passed, she was brought back to her original form, and could only play some small supporting roles. The best opportunity she had was to play the second female villain as a villain in an urban drama. The drama was suppressed and she has never been able to play. Broadcast. This man's name is Xiao Hanting, a second-generation wealthy Chinese. It is said that his family runs real estate business overseas and has billions of assets. Zhang Yu and Xiao Hanting met at a party. They heard that the other party was optimistic about the domestic entertainment industry and was interested in investing in a low-cost film to test the waters, so they wanted to take this opportunity. This time she brought Xiao Hanting to the wedding mainly to show off her relationship with Xiao Jiao in front of him. Zhang Yu and Xiao Hanting walked into the hotel together and followed the signs to the welcome area. After signing his name on the sign-in book, Xiao Hanting took out a thick red envelope from his arms and handed it to the welcoming lady. The welcoming lady did not accept the red envelope, but said with a smile, "Sir, please show me the invitation." Xiao Hanting turned to look at Zhang Yu, whose expression was slightly stiff. "Why do you need an invitation?" Regarding Xiaojin's wedding, Xiao Jiao didn't send her an invitation. "I forgot to bring the invitation. Miss Jiao and I are college classmates and very close friends." "Then please give Miss Jiao a call." The welcoming lady kept a polite smile. In fact, the receptionists and security personnel at this wedding were all from the security department of Kudong Group. Zhang Yu and Xiao Hanting's names were not on the guest list, so they would naturally not let them in. It didn't matter whether they brought invitations or not. Zhang Yu smiled unnaturally, took out his cell phone and made a call. Not long after the call was made, Xiao Jiao came out of the banquet hall with his bodyguard Zhou Zheng. "Xiao, why are you here?" Zhang Yu took 2 steps forward and hugged Xiao Jiao affectionately. "We are good friends. How could I not come to your brother's wedding?" Fortunately, Xiao Jiao came out in person, otherwise Xiao Hanting would definitely doubt her relationship with Xiao Jiao. "This is my boyfriend Xiao Hanting." "Hello, Miss Jiao," Xiao Hanting said enthusiastically. Xiao Jiao smiled and nodded to the other person, and also said, "Hello. Does this picture have a new boyfriend?" Xiao Qiao took the two of them into the banquet hall and temporarily arranged them at the table of friends and classmates. Zhang Yu brought Xiao Hanting to the main table and said hello to Li Jie. Xiao Hanting took out a business card from his arms, leaned over and handed it to Li Jie respectfully. "Mr. Li, I heard a lot about you when I was abroad. It's really an honor to get to know you." Li Jie glanced at him and reached out to take the business card. "Shaw Properties Singapore. What is your relationship with Mr. Shaw?" "That's my great-uncle," Xiao Hanting said with a smile. Li Jie just nodded after hearing this. Shaw is the name of Sir Xiao, and many Shaw buildings in China were donated and built by him.